Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon and welcome
Una tarde más a los encuentros
one more day
Zinemaldia.
to the Encounters.
Especie de refugio.
This is a
Dedicamos aquí al
refuge in the
todas las
festival.
tardes a la conversación.
This is for conversation
Como
in the
sabéis,
festival.
siempre
As
tenemos
you know, we all
propuestas
have very
diferentes.
different
Tenemos una
proposals.
propuesta
Today,
de Francia,
we have a
una
proposal
propuesta
from
de Chile,
France,
una
from
propuesta de
Tunisia,
Noruega.
and from
Son
Norway.
propuestas diferentes
These
en
are
cuanto a
different
sus formas,
proposals
pero esta vez
in
tienen
their
algo en común.
form, but
Las tres
there's
películas
something
de
in
hoy
common.
están
Today's
protagonizadas y
films
cuentan historias de
tell
mujeres
stories
muy fuertes.
about
Así que
powerful
antes de
women.
empezar
So
con las
before
conversaciones,
starting
vamos
with
a
the
recibir a los chicos de
conversations,
hoy con un aplauso, como
let's
siempre.
give them a round of applause.
Bonjour, bonsoir.
Hello.
¿Qué tal? Bueno, nuestro primer invitado
Our first guest
se llama
is
Damien
Damien Manivel.
Llega de
He comes
Francia
from France
y presenta
and
esta
he's
tarde,
presenting
va a presentar,
this afternoon.
Si tu veux, tu peux savoir la traduction en français. Él va a presentar,
He's going to present
película en Zabaltegui, esta tarde, una
his
película que
film
se
in Zabaltegui
titula
section. The title is Isadora's Children.
de Isadora. Es una película que
It's
parte
a film
del trabajo
that
de
starts
la
from the work
bailarina y coreógrafa
by the choreographer and dancer Isadora Duncan,
que la reinterpreta.
and there is a reinterpretation of her life. Damien, you were a dancer before being a filmmaker. How came this idea about Isadora Duncan?
Alors, voilà, comme vous dites, moi j'ai fait beaucoup de danse.
Before making cinema, I was a dancer, and I always wanted to make a movie about dancing. But it's not always easy to speak about something that you know about. So it took me a long time. It was by chance I was doing an improvisation with a dancer, a woman, and this dancer made a very slow movement gesture, very slow gesture, and I thought about this dance solo called "The Mother" by Isadora Duncan, and I didn't really know about that because it was a friend of mine that had this reference. Isadora Duncan wrote this solo, "The Mother," after the death of her two children. It was a real story. It was a moving dance, a moving piece. It's the mother saying goodbye to their children. I discovered this solo piece. It's 100 years old, and I wanted to make a film. It's like adapting a tale for a feature film, and I wrote my film from that starting point. What is the explanation? These are intense and moving gestures. 100 years later, how can we make these gestures exist again? In our bodies and in the lives of four women. These four women are going to dance this solo piece. So we will speak about these four women. They are the protagonists of this movie. Let's see some pictures and images of this film.
Après la mort de mes deux enfants, je cherchais à composer une danse. Mais je ne trouvais plus le courage de faire le moindre geste.
Las cuatro mujeres,
Four women
que participan de alguna forma en cada una de las etapas de una creación,
represent each of the stages of a play. It's a choreography, and then there's a contact between the choreographer and the dancers. You started this show, and there's a mixture between fiction and documentary. You created a fiction, but it was a real story. And many things and fictitious and personal stories emerged around the real story. Well, this solo piece, and you've seen some of the footage. Well, today we only have the music. There's a text. It's like a music piece, and we have some gestures left, that's all. And in my first story in the film, we see the music paper, and there is a woman deciphering the text and rediscovering the piece. And then in the second part, there is a transmission, because there is a 50-year-old choreographer, and she asks a young lady to dance that piece. And then in the third story, it's a spectator. She is very moved, and she goes back home with this big emotion. So the gesture of this film is how you get this solo back onto stage, how to reinterpret this solo piece, and how this solo piece relives in our contemporary world. And the spectators will continue to bring that solo piece in themselves. They will transmit it to other people. And I'd like you to go and see my movie. There is a risky choice in your film. I don't want to do the spoiler. We can't really see the solo piece in full. We see the first part, the rehearsals. The choreographer is deciphering the music. We see the rehearsals, and then there's an ellipsis until the last part with the spectator. We see the faces of the spectators looking at the show, but the spectator, and we don't really see the solo piece. It's a mythic show. How this drastic decision on your part not to show the solo piece? Well, I never wanted to dance this piece as Isadora Duncan did 100 years ago. I didn't want to show the final piece. I wanted to show how we work on the gestures, the movements. It's an accumulation of gestures and movements, and that creates an emotion. I always wanted to shoot and film the faces of spectators. It's very entertaining, and I wanted to look at the eyes of the spectators. In the film, we see the pain of Isadora Duncan and the pain of the last spectator. Art is a catharsis when there is a tragedy in your life. Yes, the film is about that. But I think that art can help you go through drama and tragedy in your life. But I don't think that art saves you, but it helps you to go through and to go forward in your life. You are French. The film was made in France, but there is a co-production with the Sanju Festival in Korea. How was your relationship with this Korean festival? And to what extent this festival helped you in your co-production? This co-production with Jeongju Festival in Korea was fundamental, because we launched the project thanks to them, because I'm also a producer of my films. I have little money. So I heard that the Honshu Festival proposed a grant to make a film. I went there and I asked for the co-production, and it was a success. I always work with very limited budgets, and it helped me a lot to launch the project. It was essential for me. I would have done it anyway, but it would have taken me a lot of time. And thanks to their money, I did it. This conversation is an aperitif, but because this movie will be presented this afternoon in Tabacalera, I know this movie is going to gain great success because there's great sensitivity, and I suppose you don't need luck because it's a fantastic movie. Thank you very much, Damien. Thank you for coming.
Merci beaucoup. Je vais porter le micro. Bueno, pues nuestra segunda película de hoy.
Second proposal.
Nuestra segunda película de hoy es una película que viene
comes from Tunisia.
Sí que se ha presentado ayer.
It was presented here last night in the new directors section. We have the director, Hinde Bujima, and the actress, Hen Sabri. The title is Noura's Dream. You were moved because of the public's reaction to your movie. How did you live that moment when you discovered the public and their reactions? It was fantastic. For a filmmaker, there's nothing better than having so much public, a great audience. It was very moving last night. It was the first time. People were applauding. People were crying. And we were amazed. We touched them. We moved people. And this morning, it was surprising because it was very early in the morning. It was 9:30 in the morning. And I thought, okay, these people woke up very early and they came here. There were 650 people in the room, in the movie theater. And these people love cinema. It was marvelous this morning too. With lots of emotion, positive emotion for us. A fantastic experience. Exactly the same. These people are so receptive. It's the first European public. We were presented in Toronto. For us, it's the first time in Europe. This film is universal. It's a story of a woman. And in Toronto and here, we see how men and women perceive the characters and the story. And we want to show it in Tunisia and in the Arab countries because we understood that it's universal, because all the public yesterday and in Toronto, there was a fantastic acclaim. Yes, there's very moving, and this is about the story of Noura. This woman has her husband in prison, and she has a lover, and she wants to have a new life with another man, and the laws are against that in Tunisia. It's very moving, indeed. But from the beginning, did you want to create a debate about this story of the oppression of women in Tunisia?
Oui, alors c'est pas. Alors je vais quand même faire cette loi.
This law in Tunisia, in fact, there's two things. Divorce is easy in Tunisia for women. So the law is on our side. And even much more than in European countries. That's the divorce law. And the other law is the adultery law. It's not just about oppression of women, because the man, the lover, and the woman go together to prison for 5 years. It's oppression against lovers outside marriage. It's the adultery law. We don't make a film about a law, but we want to tell the stories of people, about their lives, how humans react regarding love and jealousy. That's what I look forward when making my films. These laws do exist, and we use that situation to enhance our drama. So there was an intention to speak about that. It's a debate in Tunisia. That's right. Let's see some footage. This clip belongs to the first part of the film.
ثم القضايا نتاع جمالي طلبتهم علينا مدام كلثوم.
يا خرجنا حبس هذا سرقة زلزلة تحيب شو قعدك معاه؟
سامحني وقتاش تعيط الجلسة؟
4 أيام أخرين.
قتال يوم شهر؟
اليوم 5 في الشهر. راجلك في باله؟
Ahí veíamos a los dos protagonistas.
Two main characters, the lovers, they suffer from this law, from this culture. I don't know if you thought about real women or real stories around you when composing this character. What are the references that you use to this to do this powerful character? It's a mother, it's a wife, she's in love with another man. It's very complex. Many facets to the same woman.
Oui, alors j'ai pensé à moi.
Yes, I thought about myself as a woman and all the women that I know. And Hinde, also the director, it's a way to pay homage to something that is not said in Tunisia. It's the interior world of women, wives, mothers, especially in not oppressing cultures, because the Tunisian woman is not oppressed. It's not an oppressed woman in Tunisia. But the patriarchal culture does not forgive adultery by women. Men are forgiven most of the times, but all women have a time in their lives where they doubt, they hesitate after they become mothers. There is a transmission phenomenon that starts with a new generation after them. And as women are making sacrifices in their lives in order to follow their role as a mother, there's many more doubts in the inner world of a woman. And cinema doesn't speak about that, the inner world of women. What I loved in Hinde's approach was that, in fact, she tells the story of this strong woman, but at the same time, she's alone, she's lost, with many men around her. They are abusing her. She is in love, and she wants to be with her lover, but in the police station scene, this woman is completely immersed in a world of men, and all the men around her are abusing her at all levels. She's strong, but she's weak, and her strength comes from her weakness in a world of men. This movie is full of rhythm, high pace. It's told as a thriller, even though it's quite intimate. There's a double game here. It's a thriller, and people also in your film you speak about police corruption. It's a suspense film, and the plot is incredible because you are telling the story in a very suspense way. It's terrific, the pace and the rhythm. And were you inspired by any thriller or by any stories? And the rhythm is going up until the end. Yes. Just even before making the movie, I wanted to do this. That was my approach as a filmmaker, to speak about passion, a love affair, and having suspense in it. What can happen to them at each second of the film? There is a clear intensity. And that's what I wanted to do in my script and in the editing process. It was a quite delicate dosage. How to live this every second and telling the story little by little, and people think, what's going to happen? And that's what I wanted to convey in my movie. There's a presence of men, of course. We see the differences between men and women in various situations, but I have the impression that you have a specific look. You are quite comprehensive. You wanted to comprehend and to understand all the characters, and all of them are victims of the situation. It's not a manichaeistic movie because all of the characters are victims. Today in our world, and I imagine in Tunisia too, masculinity is being re-questioned, and it's very difficult for men. Yes. My male characters, my two male characters are very important. When you create a character, when you write a story for a character, you have to be very close to what we are as human beings. As human beings, we have everything in us. All the emotions are inside of us. Love, hatred, and then it's differently dosed according to the person, according to our reactions. We react differently to our emotions. We are all different. I'm not in favor of very clear characters. This doesn't exist in life. We are all bad and good. We are mixed in personalities. So I wanted to preserve that in my movie. Everybody's a prisoner. Everybody is a victim, but everybody loves. The husband loves his wife too, and everybody has feelings. And there is a strange relationship with the police. and they are all lying to save the others, and the lover is very much in love, and she is a mother, and she's in love, but she's trapped by the situation and by the system, men and women, and by the police. Thank you very much. I insist that it's an intimistic film with a thriller pace. It's presented in the section New Directors. Thank you very much for being here. Tunisia, we go to Norway.
Para hablar con la película
The film is Disco. The director is here with us, Jorunn Mikkelbost Siversen. I don't know if I pronounced it well or not. And the main actress, Josephine Frida Petersen. Thank you very much for being here. I said at the beginning that these three films were about strong women. They fight to get out of imposed situations. In this case, the young character lives. Well, it's about Pentecostal churches in Norway, and I was really amazed because I didn't know about these churches. Jorunn, please, could you tell us how you decided to put the story in this specific scenario, this specific environment of churches, in the Christian churches in Norway? Are they very powerful today?
I was a bit surprised myself because I don't come from this. I haven't myself grown up in a Pentecostal church. I always tend to write stories about people or imbalance of power and imbalance of power in between people and in small groups. And I think it's really interesting to look into how we relate to faith in our society today, how the structures are around faith. And this was my interest, and I knew about, in Norway, it's quite common Pentecostal direction. That's there are predicants that call themselves, or this, in the media, they are called the money preacher and the miracle preacher, because they donate or they ask you to donate money and they will heal you. So this was I thought this was a really strange environment for me, and I wanted to investigate why. How is it that the state in Norway give them money, and how is it that they can so easily attract people in vulnerable situations, and how do they relate to children? And then I started the research, and I found a much more modern church, or modern churches in these environments, that it's like coming into a pop concert. And I found Hillsong, that is really big in the US and other parts of the world, and similar churches like this. It's really modern. They have pop cultural aesthetics, and but I think I find in all these environments also some similarities, that how they connect your personal belief to God, to giving money to the church. I find problematic, and I also think they try to. I see some structures of hierarchy in all these environments, and also I found the last church that Miriam comes into in the end is a much more radical church. That I knew about this, but I didn't know how severe it is and how spread it is, and that these environments still exist also in Norway. Yeah, it was a long answer.
Bueno, como decía ella, son iglesias.
Said these are Pentecostal churches, but they have a very pop way of touching youngsters.
And the winner Det er fantastisk at du er her, så vi kan samles sånn i Den hellige ånd. Jeg blir så glad.
Det er VM snart og sånn, eller?
Ja.
Du har fått alle kortene. Du må spille det riktig, da.
Han har noe helt egen planlagt for deg.
Bueno, una estética muy moderna. Además, se da la circunstancia de que la protagonista, Frida, el personaje, es campeona de baile disco. Hablábamos antes de Isadora Duncan, vamos a hablar ahora de danza, pero danza disco. ¿Cómo fue la preparación de este personaje? Por un lado, la preparación de, digamos, la faceta más religiosa del personaje y también la preparación más física del personaje.
I think these stopped working
So,
right now.
It was my fault. How did you prepare your character? How did you prepare your character physically for a disco dancer and also for the religion part in your character? Sorry.
I prepared myself for the character by talking a lot with Jorunn, and because she had done all this research about the churches and about the disco dance environment and everything. So very much of my preparation, it was very important for me to have conversations with her. And also I got to talk to, or after I got the part, I started going to different churches in Oslo. And I got to talk to different priests, and also I had conversations with people who had left their churches, but also people that are living happy lives in the churches as well. So and that helped me a lot because I didn't know about all of these stories, and as Jorunn said, it's real events. It's based on true events. So yeah, and then with the dancing, I had to train, or is that the word, exercise? So I started that also like a week after I got the part. So I trained with my coach, or my dance teacher, who's also the dance teacher in the film, and he's a real world champion disco dancer. So yeah, it was fun and interesting.
Esta decisión de mezclar
about mixing disco dancing and Pentecostal churches. How did you have this idea? Did you think that these two different themes will not be together, disco dancing and religion?
I've been working as a video artist in many years before, and also with photography, and I have done a lot of works within this disco freestyle environment. I've always been interested in closed environments, and also when I found the Pentecostal church, I think they are on each side at the most extreme, or they have some extremities that I find interesting, and I think by combining them, they kind of strengthen each other visually, but also symbolically. So first, it was more like, because the radical churches talk about how you should choose the narrow way, not the broad way, and that the broad way is it's full of glitter and diamonds put out by the devil, and if you choose the broad way, you go to hell. And I thought that the disco environment was a kind of a nice symbol to this theory. So that was kind of how I wanted to have them to strengthen one another. But when I did my research, I was a lot with the dancers, and I found several people that were actually dancing in their own churches with their costumes. So I think in a lot of modern churches today, you will actually find some things like this. And also in Hillsong, I looked a lot on the internet, on the big Easter concerts or venues that they have, and a lot of other. I went also in Oslo to big events there, and they have really modern dance with, I would not say sexualized clothes, but it's certainly pop cultural and really modern. So I think it's, yeah, it is there.
Frida, tu personaje.
Your character suffers a lot of pressure because you want to be perfect in your life and in dancing. So you have a lot of pressure because you're exposed and you don't want to fail. You in Norway, you're a great star thanks to the series Scam, with more than 1 million followers in Instagram. Did you feel this kind of pressure as a woman because you're very young?
Like everything happened very fast. Like I feel like I suddenly got many followers, but I don't feel that much of a pressure on the social media thing. But I think Miriam, the character, is a perfect kind of picture of my generation. You know, I'm also like born in the Instagram generation. It's a lot talk about our of my generation feeling very much pressure and feel the need to be perfect in school and our looks and everything more than ever. Like there's a lot about that now, and I feel like that is of course something I've felt when I was younger, especially like you want to be perfect and you want to do good, but I feel like with Miriam it's also, you know, from everywhere, and then on top of everyone, or on top of feeling the pressure from all sides, you also add God into the picture, so then I think it gets a bit much.
Sí, pues, tener a Dios como seguidor en Instagram.
It's having God as a follower in Instagram. Jorun, this film was presented here.
I was like, mira.
Se ha presentado en el festival.
Film was presented in the festival. What is the impression that you had in the first screenings in San Sebastian? What was your impression?
Yeah, I just thought it was a really wonderful atmosphere. So nice to be here and showing the film with so eloquent questions afterwards. It's an honor to kind of have those reflections and comments. Yeah, I thought it was really nice.
Pues me alegro mucho, la película se lo merece.
Thank you very much. Your film deserves that. And I would recommend you to take your list and please vote. And you have to vote for any of these fantastic movies because they are incredible. Thank you very much indeed to the 3 teams. Thank you to the public. We'll be back tomorrow. And if you watch us on TV, follow us. We'll be here every day at 2 p.m. Thank you.